These AI developments are brought to you by Andres Vieira and Raul Diaz from Miami Real Group. It feels like just yesterday we were all blown away by AI, writing poems and making images from nothing. But now, in 2024, it feels like AI has really shifted gears.
It does, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's like we've moved past that whole can AI even do this kind of thing.
Correct.
We've jumped right into how can AI do this for us?
Exactly. Like we went from being amazed that ChatGPT could write a sonnet
Mm-hmm.
to seeing it,
Yeah.
baked into our everyday tools.
Yeah,
Like even our Google searches are being influenced by it now.
right.
It's crazy to think that, Arvind Narayanan, he's a computer science professor at Princeton, he said we've gone from just releasing these powerful AI models to actually building like real products and services
Yeah.
that use them.
Products that leverage AI. And it's interesting, because while these models, take GPT-4, for example,
Right.
it's still incredibly powerful, but
Yeah.
the development, at least in the past year, seems to have plateaued a bit.
Interesting. So instead of that constant fear of AI, becoming some kind of super intelligence, like overnight, are we starting to see it more as a powerful tool, but with limitations?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Instead of being afraid of this, godlike AI,
Uh-huh.
we're now dealing with very real questions about, how much it costs and how we can even integrate it into our lives.
Yeah, speaking of costs,
Yeah.
one thing that really struck me, reading through all these articles,
Yeah.
was just the sheer amount of money
Oh,
being
yeah.
poured into building and maintaining these AI systems. We're talking billions of dollars here, right?
Oh, billions is
Yeah.
putting it lightly, yeah.
Yeah,
The infrastructure you need to run something like ChatGPT,
right.
it's incredibly energy intensive,
Wow.
and it's actually pushing some companies to look into things like nuclear power. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Just to keep up with the demand.
It makes you wonder, right? I mean, is it all worth it? Like, is AI really living up to all the hype?
It's a good question. And, there are definitely experts out there. There's this Goldman Sachs analyst, Kosh Ringen,
Okay.
and he's pointed out that while AI may not be delivering on all the, super fantastical predictions that people were making,
Right.
it is creating these small, incremental productivity gains
Okay.
in areas like, say, sales and design.
So maybe it's not so much a, massive overnight revolution,
Right.
but more like AI is kind of subtly weaving itself into the fabric of how we work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, anywhere that AI is touching the way we work, it's going to raise questions. And I
Yeah.
think one of the biggest anxieties people have
Right.
is about how it's going to affect jobs.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's the big elephant in the room, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've already seen companies using AI for things like writing legal contracts and stuff.
Right.
And, naturally people are getting nervous about that.
Oh, of course. That nervousness, it goes beyond just the typical office jobs. It even extends to creative fields.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Actors and musicians are worried about AI being used to copy their work or even using their likeness without their permission.
Yeah, I can definitely see why they'd be concerned.
For sure.
I mean, their livelihood is at stake.
Exactly. But what's interesting is that even with all this anxiety, AI experts like Waleed Saad from Virginia Tech,
Yeah.
he really emphasizes that at its core, AI still doesn't have certain human qualities,
Mm-hmm.
He says that, AI can process tons of data,
Right.
but it just doesn't have human common sense or that natural creativity that humans have.
So maybe instead of thinking of it as AI replacing us,
Yeah.
it's more like it's augmenting what we're able to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like AI can handle all the really heavy lifting,
Uh-huh.
the repetitive tasks, the data analysis, all that.
Right.
But we still need humans for real innovation and creativity.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
One article I read mentioned something called an agentic future.
Oh, yeah.
What is that exactly?
Okay, so imagine this. You have all these individual AI tools, right?
Yeah.
Like little agents.
Okay.
And they all work together.
Uh-huh.
Each one has its own specialty.
Okay.
And together, they solve some complex problem.
So instead of one big massive AI system,
yeah.
you'd have this network of smaller specialized AIs all collaborating.
Precisely.
That's a
Yeah.
cool concept.
Yeah.
So it's like we're moving away from seeing AI as this one single tool
Right.
and more toward thinking of it as a whole ecosystem.
An ecosystem of AI.
Yeah. And speaking of ecosystems, I feel like one area where this is really playing out is in healthcare.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, AI's ability to analyze tons of data super quickly
Right.
is changing the way we diagnose and treat illnesses
Yeah.
and how we even develop new medicines.
I was reading about how AI was used for, like, some Nobel Prize-winning chemistry work this past year. And it sped up the drug development timeline from, like, years down to just days.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that's just the beginning, really. I
Right.
mean, think about it. Developing life-saving treatments in, like, a fraction of the time. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's both really exciting and a little bit daunting to think about the future of AI in healthcare.
Yeah.
But it seems like with all this power
Right.
comes a lot of responsibility too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the potential is huge, but we can't forget that AI still has limitations.
Oh, for sure. What kind of limitations should we be most aware of?
Well, for example, there's this OpenAI's Whisper. Have you heard of that?
I have, yeah.
It's a system that's supposed to be, like, super accurate at transcribing audio.
Right, right.
But even Whisper makes mistakes sometimes.
So even for something that seems as simple as just transcribing audio,
Right.
there's still room for error.
Exactly. And that's why human oversight is so important, you know?
Yeah.
We can't just blindly trust AI to get it right every single time.
Trust but verify, right.
Exactly. We have to be aware of its limitations and be responsible in how we use it. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Right.
Oh, we've talked about practical ways to use AI, how much it costs, how it affects jobs, the exciting possibilities in healthcare, and even the need for human oversight.
Yeah, and it feels like we're just scratching the surface of what AI can do and the challenges it brings.
Oh, absolutely.
These AI developments are brought to you by Andres Vieira and Raul Diaz from Miami Real Group. It does feel like we're at a really crucial point with AI, you know? It's getting more and more sophisticated every day. But the question is, how do we make sure it benefits humanity and doesn't become something that's out of control?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And, you know, it goes way beyond just technical solutions.
Right.
We're talking about ethics, our values, and understanding what could happen because of the choices we make.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It really feels like we're at, like, a crossroads, you know,
Yeah.
with AI. On the one hand, you have this incredible tool that could solve, like, some of the world's biggest problems, you know?
Right.
But then on the other hand, we have all these unknowns
Right.
and all these risks that we have to think about.
Yeah, it's almost like we have to, like, walk this tightrope
Yeah.
between embracing what AI could do,
Right.
but also being cautious about, you know, what could go wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's why these conversations are so important, you know?
For
We
sure.
need to be thinking ahead,
Yeah.
not just reacting to things after they've already happened.
Right.
We need to be setting boundaries, guidelines, and making sure everything's transparent, like how these AI systems are even made and how they're being used.
Yeah.
And then, you know, figure out how to deal with all these worries about, like, is it even fair,
Right.
you know?
It's about making sure AI benefits everybody, not just a select few.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really important point. We need to make sure AI is accessible to everyone
Uh-huh.
and that its benefits are spread out fairly.
Yeah.
You know, we need to start thinking about a new social contract, one that's built for the age of AI.
It's like we're redefining our relationship with technology in a way that puts, you know, human well-being first.
Yeah.
And like you said, makes us all feel a sense of responsibility.
Responsibility, exactly.
That's a tall order, though. I mean, where do we even begin with that?
It can seem pretty overwhelming, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm actually encouraged by some of the things I'm seeing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like what's giving you hope?
Well, for one, there's like this global conversation that's starting to happen about AI ethics and how to govern it.
Oh, okay.
Governments, organizations, and just regular people, they're all coming together to talk about these issues and try to find solutions.
It seems like we're finally moving past all the hype and starting to really, like, get into the nitty-gritty of AI.
Yeah, I think so. And within the tech industry, too, I'm seeing this growing awareness that AI development needs to be responsible.
Yeah.
You know, companies are starting to put ethical guidelines in place
Mhm.
and build frameworks to make sure their systems actually line up with human values.
That's great to hear. I mean, it's encouraging to see the people who are actually building these systems
Right.
taking ethics seriously.
It's definitely a step in the right direction, yeah. And it's not just the tech companies either.
Yeah.
There's a whole movement to educate people about AI
Okay.
and what it all means, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important
Right.
because the more people understand about AI, the better we'll be able to make smart decisions about how it fits into our lives.
It's all about empowering people,
Ah,
giving them a voice,
exactly.
and how AI shapes the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, this all feels like just the beginning of a really long journey. We're still learning how to live with AI and make sure it helps humanity.
It's a journey that will require us to keep talking, keep working together,
Hmm.
and be willing to change and learn
Yeah,
as AI keeps evolving.
absolutely.
But even with all the uncertainty, don't you think there's still a sense of hope?
Oh, absolutely. I think there is.
Yeah.
I mean, AI really could be this incredible force for good in the world.
Yeah.
It could help us solve some of our biggest problems and create a better future for everyone.
But ultimately, it's up to us to make sure that happens, right?
That's right. It's up to us.
Yeah.
The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating together.
Hmm.
It's almost like we need to approach AI with like a cautious optimism,
Okay.
excited about what it can do, but also realistic about the challenges.
I like that. Cautious optimism. I think that sums up where we are perfectly right now.
Yeah, I think it captures the essence of this moment. We need to be both excited and realistic. These AI developments are brought to you by Andres Vieira and Raul Diaz from Miami Real Group.
So, as we're wrapping up this part of our look at AI in 2024,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember? What's the
Yeah.
most important takeaway here?
I think the most important thing to remember is that AI isn't some, far-off sci-fi concept.
Right.
It's here right now.
Yeah.
It's changing super fast,
Uh,
and it's already having a big impact on the world around us.
and we all have a role to play in making sure that impact is a positive one, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The future of AI isn't being decided for us. It's something we're all creating together.
That's a really powerful thought. It reminds us that we're not just like passive bystanders
Right.
in this technological revolution.
Yeah.
We have a say in this, we have power, and we can actually make a difference. These AI advancements were brought to you by Andres Vieira and Raul Diaz from Miami Real Group.
It feels like we're on the edge of something really big with AI.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Exciting, but maybe a little bit scary too.
Yeah, I get that. It's like we have this incredibly powerful tool,
Right.
but we're still figuring out how to use it responsibly.
Exactly. So as we're figuring all of this out,
Mm-hmm.
what should we be paying attention to? Like, what are the big questions we need to be asking ourselves?
Well, I think one of the most urgent things is data privacy.
Okay.
AI systems need data to work.
Right.
Like, the more data they have, the more powerful they become.
Yeah.
But then, that brings up all these questions about, like, who owns that data?
Right.
How is it being used?
Mhm.
And are there even any safeguards to protect people's privacy?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because we want AI to be effective, so it needs data,
right.
but we also don't want to just give up our privacy completely.
Exactly. And, it goes beyond just individual privacy.
Okay.
We also have to think about whether AI is being used to discriminate against certain groups of people.
Yeah. Like, I've heard about AI bias in things like facial recognition technology.
Exactly. And loan applications, too.
It seems like transparency is really important then.
Oh, yeah.
If these AI systems are making choices that affect our lives, we need to know how they're making those choices,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Transparency is, like, the key to building trust in AI.
Uh-huh.
We need to know what data was used to train the systems, what the algorithms are,
Yeah.
and what's being done to stop any bias from creeping in.
And speaking of responsibility, who's ultimately responsible for making sure all of this happens? Is it the tech companies who build these systems? The government? Or is it up to each of us individually?
I think it's all of us. It's a shared responsibility.
Okay.
Companies have to put ethics first when they design and build these AI systems.
Right.
Governments need to create rules and regulations to make sure AI is being used safely and fairly.
Yeah.
And each of us needs to stay informed and involved, demanding transparency and accountability from the people in charge.
So we're all in this together then.
I think so, yeah.
The future of AI isn't something that's going to be decided for us.
Right.
It's something we all have to work together to shape.
I think that's what makes this such an exciting time.
Yeah.
We have this chance to decide what role AI plays in our lives and how it's used to solve the problems humanity faces.
A big responsibility, but it's also a huge opportunity, right?
It is.
So as we're wrapping up our conversation about AI in 2024, what's the one message you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay involved.
I love that.
AI is always changing, and it's up to all of us to make sure it changes for the better.
These AI developments were brought to you by Andres Vieira and Raul Diaz from Miami Real Group. I think that's a great message to end on. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. Thank you for joining us for this exploration of artificial intelligence.